Hello and welcome to IB Times TV. I'm Sally Turner, joined here in studio today with Tim Piper, co-creator of President of the World and GlobalDemocracy.com. Tim, thank you for joining us.
Sure.
I was wondering if you could explain the idea behind the President of the World. Who is he?
President of the World is a manifestation. So it's a fictional character, but he's a manifestation of all the votes for equality, freedom and security that people around the world have asked from their leaders but are not receiving. So basically he's just someone to stand up for all those principles that we want that the leaders aren't delivering us.
And you're pushing him through social media. What has been some of the main obstacles that you've come in your way so far, like reaching such a wide audience and maintaining it?
Well, at the moment we're starting small. So there's a group of us behind the concept, but the idea really is to get people's input as to what they want to see take place in regards to leadership around the world. And if we start small, then we'll make a lot of mistakes. Launching a character called President of the World, obviously. No one really wants a dictator in charge of the world. No one really wants a president of the world, I don't think. But at the same time, he's a good headline to get attention to the concept of having a voice for the silent majority, I guess. There really haven't been any hurdles to date. We've been pretty fortunate in that we put it on YouTube. It's now got 60-odd thousand hits. Every now and again it gets blogged somewhere and a big spike jumps up.
What are some of the hurdles so far you've reached with social media and reaching a global audience, which is what you want to attain?
Well, we've been pretty lucky. When you call something President of the World as a concept, it's going to get a bit of attention and people are going to be interested to see what that's about. So that hasn't been a hurdle as far as getting attention goes. I guess the hurdle is going to be, and has been to date, letting people know that this is authentic, that there are good people behind this. There's not some new world order or some power or control issue going on here. It literally is a way to get the opinions of the world to the forefront. And he's a fictional character that can do that. I think the hurdle is going to be over time, just I guess getting people engaged to the extent that they believe it can make a difference. And we have to start small because we're going to make a lot of mistakes. When you create a character called President of the World, obviously people are going to raise an eyebrow and they're going to try and pull you down for I guess the sake of just integrity and due diligence. So I think overall the biggest hurdle is going to be establishing a fictional character as someone who's legitimately out to do good.
And you talk about engagement. How do you get someone from liking the video or watching the video to actually getting out and doing something, to that next level of action?
Well, I think you just got to keep exposing the concept as a concept with integrity through every piece of communication. I don't think many people are going to jump to this off the bat because people are suspicious about all sorts of new things that pop up. So I think the way to get engagement is to have a look at people's behaviour on the website, GlobalDemocracy.com, see if people are taking it seriously, identify what the problems are with the world, and then try and gather the information that we get and demonstrate to the viewers and the people who like the Facebook page, for instance, try and demonstrate how we're going to get these issues in front of world leaders and make them pay attention. Ultimately, they'll pay attention if a lot of people support it, because leaders always follow, or they always aim to get popularity. So the idea is that if we can have a platform for great ideas and show that there's popular momentum behind them, then it's not too hard to persuade leaders to act on those ideas, because it'll lead to more popularity for them. The trick is just going to be people believing enough at the very beginning stages, when it doesn't have much momentum, that there's potential.
What are some of the main problems of the world that you have seen addressed on your site, people coming in and saying, is there a trend?
There's a few things, and it's really interesting because the President of the World, there are two sites, the President of the World site and the Global Democracy site. The other one's thepower.net, and when you register on that, you have to say what your biggest concern is as well as your country. So you get some really interesting feedback from different parts of the world as to what their biggest concern is. And again, this is all to solve the problem of people acting in global ways, not specific national ways. One of the biggest problems is food and agriculture, industrial agriculture. surprisingly. So I think people are catching on to the fact that some giant corporations are now trying to manipulate food supply around the world by patenting life forms and just by a heavy reliance on oil for the transport of feed for cattle that are in industrial farms not getting sunlight, so they get diseases, so they need more antibiotics and all this kind of stuff. So I think people are very concerned about industrial food hazards and the future of food supply.
Do you agree with them? Is food your biggest concern?
It's becoming my biggest concern when I look at some of the feedback. There's also been environmental concerns, obviously, but what's great about this site is that it's asking not so much what the biggest concerns are in the world. There is that category there, but it's asking what is a great idea that might solve a problem. And it's amazing when you read some guy from another country writing about liquid uranium fusion something or other. You'll have to go to the site to find out. But basically it's an alternate to global energy needs, and it's got 100% votes, and you have a lot of very intelligent, obviously nuclear physicists commenting as to why this is good and why it's being blocked by some governments, and it's fascinating. But otherwise, these people that know what the great ideas are to solve the world's problems are, they're able to go on this site and make comments, whereas really there's no other forum for that. The politicians don't know. They're there to manage, society, and within society, people know how to fix things. But the government's not for fixing things around the world, it's for running things. So right now the world needs fixing. GlobalDemocracy.com is a place where the fixers, the people with the ideas, can express these ideas and try and get some support for them.
Talk about ideas. How does it go to the next level from being on the forum to an idea to actually becoming something? What's the next step?
Well, the next step is for the President of the World to release, as the President of the World gathers momentum and Global Democracy site gathers momentum, the ideas on GlobalDemocracy.com get promoted upwards. So then every quarter the President of the World is going to see which ideas are getting the most votes, and then provided they're in line with the Constitution, which we set up for the concept, which is basically, does this idea support global freedom, equality, and security, so it can't conflict with that. Provided it fits that criteria, that the highest promoted idea will get promoted by the President of the World with an online video. And then it's up for the people who have been following and watching to forward that on. Now that'll only happen if the idea is fantastic, but that's the whole concept. Basically, fantastic ideas will get to the top. So if the President of the World has something fantastic to say, then by its very nature it should get forwarded on if it's important enough. And if it's not that important, it won't work, and that's fine too. But as the world progresses and problems escalate, something like this can actually fix it or do something about it.
You're in your initial stages of growing and developing through social media. Have you thought of any other branches of promotion or marketing tools to get out there? And
absolutely. I think President of the World is a fictional character, so there's no reason why later on there couldn't be a good TV sitcom, regarding how a fictional President of the World or how a real President of the World might have to act. So we're actually developing characters online. There's another character, Peng. There's going to be more from all walks of life. And these characters can actually turn into possibly an entertainment property which has a secondary use for society, and that is these characters will promote important issues.
You talk about entertainment. Do you think that's a way into people's mindsets?
I think it is. I think there are so many political sites now that are doing good and doing the right thing. We want this to be something different. We want people to have a look at a President of the World video and smile and have a laugh sometimes, and at other times know that there's a real issue at stake, and they should get behind it. But I think a little bit of humour and a little bit of entertainment goes a long way today, because there is a little bit of saturation of issues that the world has, and I think that's only going to get worse. So if we can entertain and educate, then I think the concept will work.
Do you think that's going to be your point of difference, to entertain and to educate?
I think it has to be, because we have no money. So President of the World is a guy that doesn't Yeah, it doesn't earn an income. There's no government or corporation behind the concept, and there can never be, or it won't work. It won't have integrity. So it simply has to be entertaining, or it's not going to work.
And finally, do you believe that global democracy is possible?
I think it's definitely possible, if not probable. I think society is getting a little bit more sophisticated every year as to how we need to operate as a whole. And I think it's coming to a head as the developed countries exploit the underdeveloped countries, and they keep taking their resources, and there seems to be a consistent poverty cycle. That's going to bust at some point, and the majority are going to get they're going to need an outlet, and a democratic outlet is by far the best kind of outlet, I think, for people who are feeling trodden on other than violence or rallying. And I think there's a real place. I mean, we've seen with Occupy Wall Street that how you can occupy geographically, places and make a statement. I think there's a place for occupying the mind, where we can sort of stand up for 100%, not just the 99%, and start getting our minds to think in a better way, so that whatever our actions are day to day and whatever we're doing within our corporation, it's moving in the right direction. It's not depleting the world of resources. It's not taking advantage of the poor or underdeveloped nations. And I think if we can occupy people's minds in some way, then I think you'll have a democratic globe, whether it's an official global democracy or not. I just think you'll end up with a better system.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming in today.
Sure.
If you want any more information on what we've discussed today, please visit globaldemocracy.com. I'm Sally Turner for IB Times TV.